All right. Lots to talk about. We're back. Sorry for missing 2 weeks. Got really busy with a lot of personal stuff. But yeah, we're playing Feral. Not on the assassination rogue right now. Generally my personal life is very busy this tier, so I wanted to play backup for my guild. This is kind of like the short reason why I'm playing Feral. And so turns out we need a healer more often than we need a DPS. That's not necessarily true. We need both. But anyways, I wanted to be able to heal and DPS. Can't do that on Rogue. So that's why I'm switching. I'll still play the Rogue. I just did the normal raid on my Rogue and it was pretty fun. Rogue hasn't changed at all, so the guides are still good, which is nice. But yeah, so we're trying Feral. Not trying, we're playing Feral this tier. I am by no means like a Feral genius yet, so I'm not gonna like sit here and pretend to tell you how to play Feral yet. This is more just gonna be me shooting the shit kind of video versus actual insightful commentary. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that I probably won't be doing a ton of Rogue videos, but I'll be doing a lot of Feral for the time being. New season, I don't know the dungeons that well yet. This was my first, and this might be my only time I've done this so far this season. What I like to do is kind of do every dungeon on like a 2 through 4, just where you can make a mistake and the amount of damage that you do is just gonna kind of let you time the keys anyways, until I kind of know all the boss mechanics, and then I'll start doing 10s. This I got coerced isn't the right word, but
freaking intimidation.
got
You could stun him, right?
motivated, inspired, encouraged. Yes, I got encouraged to join this 10, which I'm grateful because it's good for loot, right? But I kind of get carried here, and we'll see that going through. Doing this with a full guild group, no pugs. I assumed nothing, I'm sorry. But I guess we could start talking about what I know about Feral so far. I know Rip uptime is very important, or in this case, Primal Wrath when you're in AoE, because that's what's going to give you more free procs of your bite. And like I see, like Apex Predator, I think it is. I'm still learning the talents, so I'm sorry if I butcher any of that. But yeah, so you basically really want to maintain your rip uptime, and you want to maintain your blood talons uptime. So we tracking blood talons ladies thing here, so we know when and how many stacks we have, or if we don't have stacks. The other thing I like to do is build up full set of blood talons. Oh, and then I did it wrong here. But before I go into my cooldowns, I build up full combo points, full set of blood talons, rip to spend the combo points, and then straight into a convoke to try and get as many bites out with the 2 extra stacks of blood talons, but also having that full power rip. And then usually out of the convoke, if I don't have blood talons already, this is where I'm like still learning. I don't know if it's better for me. We're all right, so we come out of convoke, we have full combo points, we don't have blood talons. Should I spend the bite to use the combo points? Should I send a rake or a thrash if I know there's like this interesting thing where if my current target, if I know rake is about to fall off or thrash is about to fall off, I know that that wasn't cast in the convoke, right? So I can make an educated guess about what button to hit to proc blood talons. But I don't know if blood talons is worth hitting when I'm already at full combo points, because the other thing with how blood talons works is like when you cast the ability, you know, you start the timer for, you have to cast 3 different combo point generators in like this single time frame. So if you do send that bite, that's another tick on the timer before for blood talons, right? So then you might, like, you could, this is so interesting. you could send the rake, get lucky, hit the blood talents. Oof, we died here. I think I just stood in a circle. But yeah, so you could hit the rake, get the blood talents, and then go into the bite, and then that bite will be empowered. Or is it better to, you're at full combo points, always send the bite, and then try to get your combo point generator? But also because you're in Berserk, you're kind of getting flooded with combo points. So there's these cases where you could just keep bite, and then you get an Apex Predator pack. Bite, bite, bite. And so you have
I used it on
8 bites in a row where you have no blood talons up. And I'm not sure if that's like what you're supposed to do. Just a long-winded rant saying I don't know how to play Feral yet. So if you're a Feral main watching this and you pity me, please enlighten me. I would love it. By the end of the season, I'll have it figured out. But that's what's fun about a new class, right? Like, part of the reason I got tired of playing Rogue. Oh my god, I am terrible at this game. Charge shield. Part of the reason I was excited to switch to Feral this season is because I just felt like I was in like I could play Rogue rotation with like my eyes closed, which is cool in a way, and it was really good when you're trying to like push high keys. That's what kept Rogue fun for me, is like we were really trying to push higher keys at the end of the season. But when if you're not pushing, like, at least for me, I need something else to like motivate me, right? And so learning a new class is good for that. Other thing to call out with Feral is you want all of your targets like in a cone in front of you, because your bite is exactly that. It's a cone in front of you. So if you are in the pack and some of the mobs are behind you, when you go to send that bite, it's not going to AoE out to all the other enemies. And so I guess I should explain how the AoE works, right? So your bites, when you're talented into, I'll show it on the screen hopefully because I don't know off the top of my head. When you have the talent where your bites hit everything that has a rip applied to it. But that only works if they're in front, if the targets are in front of you. So you send your Primal Wrath, we get our rips on all the targets here, and see, like right here, if I bite, I missed hitting that vendor with my bite because it wasn't in front of me. So it's just like something you didn't have to worry about on Rogue, right? Because Caustic Spatter is just a circle around the target you're hitting. You know, your bites are a cone emanating? Radiating? Oh man, struggle with the vocabulary today. But yeah, a cone in front of you, for layman terms. So far, I'm enjoying the new dungeons this season. I like this dungeon. I think the bosses are fun. I think the toughest part is definitely the pulling extra mobs. Because it's tight corridors, high mob density, and so it makes it easier to pull extra. But I don't mind that necessarily all the time, especially when there's like mobs that run away. I think running away, like mobs running away, I think is an interesting mechanic that makes some skills that normally don't have utility have a little more utility, right? Like obviously AoE stuns are always going to be strong. They're strong now, but something like, oh wow, why can't I think of this ability? The suction thing for druids. I can see it on my bars. I can't think of the name. But the thing where if you walk out of the circle, it pulls you back in, like the whirlwind looking thing. Like that by itself as an ability doesn't have a lot of utility. Obviously, it gets a lot of utility if you use Typhoon with it, right? Because it's kind of like a mini CD. But as soon as mobs start running away, that becomes a much more interesting talent, which I think is fun. Like to have more unique mechanics that make the dungeon difficult. And I think running away is one of those. Makes Frost Mage, right? Like Ice Nova gets a little more interesting. Crippling Poison for rogues get a little more interesting. And I think the RNG, honestly, like I bet a lot of people would disagree with me here, is like, I think the RNG makes it more exciting and adds variety to your dungeons. Like, sometimes the mob is gonna run into something and maybe it wipes the group, maybe it doesn't wipe the group, or you have to adjust. Like, I think that's fun. Like, I think when you're pushing high keys, obviously they're difficult in their own regard. You're kind of trying to learn. In a lot of ways, you're in this, like Guitar Hero, right? Like when you practice Guitar Hero, you're just learning the patterns, and there's repetition of like, all right, this is what the mobs are gonna do. Who's interrupting what? What pulls are we doing? When are we using cooldowns? Like, you're kind of learning that pattern of the dungeon. And so I'm totally down for people thinking that's the fun part of M Plus, is like mastering the song, the pattern of how a dungeon operates. But I also like the idea of like, you're not just playing the same song every single time, you know? Like, you get some variety. I think that makes it interesting. I think it makes it a lot more fun to watch. Like, if you're in a dungeon, or if you're watching the MDI or something, and like there's variables involved, and it's not just like, okay, every group is doing the same exact route, the same exact way, and it's like, did they execute it perfectly? Which, again, like I said, has its own merit, has its own interesting, fun, like, nuances. But for me, I like both. I think that's great. Like, but I also think it's nice to sprinkle in a little bit of, you don't know what's gonna happen 100% of the time, and you got to be able to adapt to what's happening. I think there's value in both, especially with how long the seasons can get, right? Like, it's just how I feel. Random rant. What? I disagree. Dude, I'm so bad at this game. I don't think this new affliction is very exciting. Collect little orbs that circle around you. Doesn't do much for me. That's okay.
Okay, that was weird.
It's less annoying than what they've done in the past, so it's not a, doesn't detract from my experience. The other thing I'm trying to do on Feral is remembering which of the snapshotting of bleeds, which is something you worry about only a little bit on Rogue. With like Rogue, when you grow from stealth, you got to remember that growth has been empowered. But the bleeds generally last like a lot longer of a time period, and you don't really have to reapply growth that often. Like, you reapply growth, you know, once every 20 seconds. If you clip the snapshot of Garrote, at least historically, isn't like the most, like, you're losing a little bit of damage. It's not like you're totally handicapping yourself if you're doing that. Whereas Feral, especially in AoE situations with Primal Wrath, the bleed durations are a lot shorter, and they're ticking a lot faster. I don't know if they're ticking faster, but they're hitting a lot harder for each tick. So the snapshotting is kind of amplified. The importance of the snapshotting is amplified. So you really don't want to clip 4 seconds of a rip that's been buffed by Tiger's Fury in the way that it's a lot more detrimental to your damage, especially because Garrote's usually on, improved Garrote anyways, is usually on, gets applied to every target, but like, you're only ever going to reapply it to one target unless you're vanishing, at which case you don't have to worry about the snapshotting because you're going to reapply the stronger version of it anyways. With Rip and Primal Wrath, Primal Wrath, you're ripping everything. So instead of snapshotting, having to worry about the snapshot of 1 bleed, you have to worry about the snapshot of 6 bleeds. So every time you make a mistake, it's a lot more detrimental to your overall damage. Here we get Blood Talons up, then we Tiger's Fury. Primal's Wrath. We didn't Primal Wrath. We're getting out of the AoE. We should Primal Wrath here. There we go. Now we're just biting. And see, now Tiger Fury's off. And luckily we got all the ticks of rip off, so that was pretty good. Here we can reapply the rip because we don't have to worry about the improved rip because we didn't have Tiger's Fury up for that rip. One thing I want to do is look at some other people's weak auras that manage that snapshotting, or not manage it, but monitor it more effectively than me. Like right now I just monitor my bleeds, and when they're low it's like, okay, I know it's low, and I kind of have the mental burden in my own brain that that was a snapshotted bleed versus not a snapshotted bleed, excuse me. And so I think there's probably some weak auras I could find that would be more beneficial for that. Send our rip before we went into our cooldowns there, which I don't know if I love that. I think I would have preferred to just set the cooldowns and rip before, but that's okay. This boss, not too shabby. You can use the whirlwind sucky Ursula's Vortex. Yes, we remember the name of it. To help keep those Earth Ragers in check. You also can use your free regrowth cast also applies to your roots. So you can get instant cast roots where you don't have to change out of feral every time you have it might be clear casting. Again, I'm not sure I know the name of the buff that it is, but we threw out one root so far. I usually don't bother when the mob's so close. We might do it here. Come on, root it, do it. Oh, we changed our mind. Yeah, there we go. See, so instant cast root. We'll see if we Ursula's Vortex when the second mob comes out here. Nice. Oh wait, no, never mind. Not nice. All right, we're just killing the big guy. I got one on me still. We did not Vortex there. This was my first. This might have been like my first run of the Motherlode period for this season, so I had no idea what I was doing as far as the bosses go, so I was probably a lot more worried about that. We did Vortex there though to get that Earth Rager off of our healer. Oh, didn't pick the one with full health for once. Switching every time this thingamabobber happens. Yeah, I like this dungeon. I think design-wise, I like the bosses. They're unique. They got stuff going on. They don't feel, again, like, they don't feel that annoying. I can't think of the word. Let's see, what other feral things have I learned since I started playing feral? We're running the adaptive swarm. One thing that you can do with adaptive swarm going into pulls is like apply it to your tank or apply it to yourself, and that just saves you a GCD when you go into your rotation, right? Adaptive swarm doesn't feel like a very effective button press like in the middle of your rotation. I think you would rather be hitting a button that's going to proc blood talons or spending a combo point. Although there is a fair amount of downtime where you're kind of energy starved that feral has. We can dispel this poison here, but it's a short cooldown and I haven't done a very good job of recognizing it. Like there's 2 poisons out right now, but it's only 4 seconds. I could have dispelled one. But yeah, so adaptive swarm, getting that out going into the pool is really effective.
Who was that?
I had just thought of something else I wanted to talk about feral, and now just completely slipping my mind. Oh yeah, I had a question for my feral mains out there. When we when do we want to pool above? There's like talent for like sending your bites. You want to have a certain amount of energy saved up. And I don't know if that's like you want to hold it in single target only or in AoE only. Like do you always want to have more than 50 energy when you're sending a bite? Because in the Discord there's a lot of talk about how there's like a fair amount of downtime where you're
Someone pulled.
I mean,
did I pull
they
this?
went after me, but I really.
Yeah, there's like some downtime where you're pulling, and honestly I really haven't felt that way when I've been playing Feral. Like I don't feel like I'm pooling that much, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm misplaying my bites. Like I want more instances of biting with higher levels of energy, and I'm not doing that very well. Sorry, I'm sure that made very little sense, but what are you gonna do? I got so carried in this dungeon, it was great. I also really like burst classes, I've decided. Like I really enjoy the burst from Assassination Rogue was a burst class, and Feral's definitely a burst class with Convoke and Berserk going off at the same time. You just do a gazillion damage in that window. The one thing, again, the difference between Assassination Rogue and Feral I've really been enjoyed is not having to funnel a single target to get my AoE off. That's been really nice. Like with Rogue, obviously you have to be hitting into your caustic spatter target at all times, and it makes switching a little more difficult at times. And just being able to switch targets at any point on Feral, for whether it be for an interrupt on a target that isn't your focus target, or you know, just for damage sake, and then like not having to reapply caustic, you know, for the AoE is just probably like the one.
Oh, this is nice. I like this.
I enjoy it in Assassination Rogue in the sense that it's unique. Like I think it's really good and healthy for the game to have a class where the way it does AoE is different than every other class. But at the same time, it is very nice to be able to the cooldown specifically, right? Like Kingsbane, you have to hit your Kingsbane target no matter what. Like, yes, you can switch, but you lose so much damage if you're not funneling into your Kingsbane target, where because it's a debuff, right? Like, because it's a debuff on the target, you have to funnel that target. But Berserk is a buff on you, right? So, like, no matter what target I'm hitting, I'm going to be hitting them harder. So that has been a really nice change going from the Rogue to the Druid. Like, it's been very just easier to play because I have that tool in my tool belt. Like I could switch targets even if it's in a Kingsbane window. Like before I would have to make a decision of, do I switch targets and help burn the ads faster on like Spider Boss of Arakara, for example. If like I had just hit Deathmark and Kingsbane, like I'm funneling the boss, like or you know, like I'd much rather do that versus trying to kill those ads. But now, like if I hit Berserk and then the ads come up, because that's just the way the timing worked, that's fine. I switch the ads and I'm still getting value out of my cooldown because it's a buff, not a debuff. I like this boss too. The one thing I like about Feral too is like those situations where you get kicked out of the group for whatever reason, right? You're targeted by a mechanic. I can just go bear form and like I don't feel as bad about losing the DPS uptime because I know I'm decreasing the amount of healing my healer has to do, which is great. You know, it's like obviously with Rogue, you know, you faint, you're spending your energy to reduce the burden on the healer, but I don't know, it just feels good to feel like you're doing something Obviously, you're saving the group huge pain if you're, you know, you have to take out mechanics. You have no choice. But yeah, it feels good when you get to be like, oh, I'm also taking less damage. These bombs are fun. Haven't used a vortex yet because I'm bad, but they've also been dying really quick. So we'll see if we use one moving forward.
There's gonna be a couple that pull here, so be careful. Come with me. Come with me. Come with me. So you don't get stuck back there with something chasing you.
Run.
We get hit with the bomb here. Not sure what the group's doing. Oh, yep, there goes the vortex.
Stunning?
I'm amazing. So good at this game.
Machine.
I got it. There's gonna be 2 lines ahead.
See right there, we Tiger Fury right before we went into the rip. Got this mine after me. Let's see if we Typhoon it. Oh, we weren't running Typhoon yet. I don't remember. I hadn't switched. I think I like honestly switched my talents.
Someone's behind too.
Maybe right after this dungeon. Fun druid tech that I absolutely love doing is you can Ursula Vortex
I don't think that was on there.
all the mobs and then Typhoon them, and it's like a mini interrupt. It's like a blind or whatever you will. And then it also really tightly packs them after the fact because they all get hit into the wind and then pulled back in into a nice little tight little ball, which obviously makes your biting cone a little easier.
Stunning it. Holy shit!
My man is.
Run this,
Oh,
run that,
oh,
run that.
geez, I almost ran into the mobs. So spooky.
See it this side.
We're good though.
Ow.
Watch your step.
I wonder what the DPS split was at the end of this dungeon.
Oh, okay, there's 1 line ahead. So don't stop.
Like how badly I got whooped.
1.
Watch your step.
I don't really have any gear. I have been getting,
These 2 guys.
I ran,
Another one.
you know, normal solo pugging, and I've
Get ready to use defensive.
just got no loot. So
2 lines coming.
we're in the new season, but I don't have that many new items. Plus I missed the first week because I was playing Monster Hunter Wilds, which is kind of why I wasn't posting videos either. I'm sorry, but it's an incredible game. I have no regrets.
I have no CC.
Oh, are we gonna send our cooldowns here? The tough part about the beginning of the season is not knowing
Don't be saving cooldowns on anything, like using Garen is really fucking bad. Trash.
not knowing when to use my big offensive CDs. Like whether that's like there's a very dangerous pack coming up that I'm gonna need them for. If that's the health level, like in a 10, like I don't know what a 10 feels like. Like I probably could have set my cooldowns there and gotten full value out of them.
If there's
But that's just something you learn kind of as the season goes on.
just be ready to move out quick.
And it'll become more important once we start pushing. Right now, I'm not really concerned about pushing.
So we got that.
I'm just trying to get gear and learn the dungeons,
Hit you unless no one's in the circle with you.
which I have failed at doing both of those things. We Tiger's Fury. I guess I must have accidentally hit Convoke because my cooldowns are off cycle pretty bad here, so I'm holding on to Berserk until Convoke's back up. I wonder how I messed that up. This is another fun boss.
CC him on the R side. So get ready to move real quick. So towards. Dodge, punch him.
Alright, Tiger Fury's back up. We're saving it for Convoke. So maybe I should be pulling energy here? I'm not sure. We didn't though. Actually, no, I shouldn't because you.
What the fuck hit me?
Oh, that was in the middle of. In the middle of my cooldowns. Yikes.
His health zone's anything.
That's pretty brutal. We almost threw this, honestly. I think someone else dies in this last pull.
The last one was slow, now this one is fast.
It's gonna be fast again. He's coming to this side again.
Oh wow.
To be honest,
Tragic.
I have no
Lost
idea
all my
what hit me
cooldowns.
there.
Weak aura, that reminds me to reapply Mark of the Wild. if you have a class that's like a priest
Caveats.
with Fortify,
You have to be.
probably a mage with Arcane Intelligence, Battle Shout,
If you get
it's
he's gonna run to you.
really nice to have a reminder to reapply those
Yeah,
buffs.
this
They're
thing's
super
really
important,
rough.
defensives on this.
especially Druid versatility buff. It's really strong.
It's very
So it's kind of obnoxious on my screen, but that's the whole point.
Feel sad.
First time ever dealing with this mechanic. I don't think I get out in time. Yep, just standing there like a dingaling.
Dude. Apparently. I waited till the circle was there, which I
Oh,
guess
we
is-
have 3 B reses left. That's crazy.
Just up there and you can move. Alright. Back to the normal position.
Minute 40.
Minute. There's a chance. Just dodge shit, don't stop.
Don't have lust, but that should be fine.
Don't go too far.
Like he's yeah, move.
Another thing I don't do very well is use fluid form to switch back between forms to save me a GCD.
So when you see him over there in that corner, that flying guy, it means it's gonna be like on this quadrant, so
Yeah, nothing insightful to add for this dungeon. You know? Just dodge stuff. Again, sorry I missed 2 weeks, you know. I'm still I think I don't know if I've said this in a video yet, but I've kind of committed to I'm gonna do videos for a year and see where I'm at
kill it. 40 seconds.
before I give up on the YouTube dreams, right?
Let me hit
But
you,
I'm gonna do 52 videos no matter what. So if I miss weeks,
Time 10, let's go.
I'm still gonna put out videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first TED. We timed it,
Married, yay!
and
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed that. Sorry, it was a big ramble sesh,
First
but
time getting the 10.
I will get more and more educational as the season goes on, and I learn how to play Feral.
Woo!
Good luck out there.
Wow,
Good.
living the dream.